Hello and welcome to another Creighton Report Extended, a book by Hunter Davis, who spent the year in the life studying the ins and outs of a comprehensive system. If you remember last time, I touched on the subject of the nitty-gritty subject of bullying. We had a lot of bad apples in our year. We needed a hero. A certain Mr. Macdonald. But was he a hero? Hero or villain? We'll look into that and finally put that particular debate to bed. Mr. Macdonald was the head of our year, but he wasn't just the head of our year. He was going to be the head of our year for the second year, third year, fourth year and fifth form. In other words, most of our Creighton school life, we would have Mr. Macdonald as our head of year. And if you have a look here, this is the forum of what some people actually thought of him. So these are some examples of what people thought of Mr. Macdonald, the head of our year. If you have a look, John Mascarenhas, he was in my year. He was in both my A-level classes. Quite a nice chap. He remembers that Mr. Macdonald would stand on your feet and push you backwards just to scare you. And he says here, I'm sure he taught geography. The way Mr. Mascarenhas says that, he's not quite sure that he taught geography. I can tell you that he did teach geography because I was in his geography class. So some people liked him, some people called him an absolute bully. A Hitler-like character. This was a time when a little child beating didn't go amiss. But I have to say, contrary to popular belief, hitting children and assaulting children was actually illegal even back then in the 70s. If you have a look at this section in the Creighton School Report, So in the meeting, Mr. Macdonald actually suggests that he would hit a child if he had to. And Mrs. Molly Hattersley suggests to him, I would advise you that hitting a child is still illegal. And Mr. Macdonald just says, well, if you don't have discipline in the class, then you can't teach. So there's a part in the book where Mr. Marsh actually says that once a child hit him, and so Mr. Marsh hit him back. And it all went to court, and Mr. Marsh actually sort of all smug, and I won the case. Mrs. Molly Hattersley told him, you were lucky. A lot of cases where teachers would hit children and you don't know what kind of ailments they have. You know, maybe they've got a bad spine or hard of hearing or anything like that. You could actually get into a lot of trouble. So if you have a look at all these forums and everything, it suggests that you could whack a child to death and actually get away with it. That was not the case. If I were a teacher back then and I could get away with it, I would have made Mr. Macdonald look like a Ronald McDonald. I would have actually picked up people from their ears and actually hung them over balconies and have their feet dangling in midair. And if a parent came up to me and said, how come my son's got cauliflower ears and he's always got bruises? I would just come up with my classic line. I would just say, slipped on the slippery floor he did. There we go. Okay. And then another parent would come up and go, why is my son always covered in bruises and always looking like a slapped up ass? And I would have said, he's just slipped on the slippery floor. And it makes me laugh because there's a passage in the book where Mr. Macdonald finds a known misbehaviour wandering around the corridors. And he says to him, well, if you've got nothing to do, why don't you have my job? He goes, what, your job? Going around with a file, trying to look busy? And Mr. Macdonald says, yes, that's the kind of insolence that appeals to me. He would have been murdered if he had said that. And someone in the forum actually reckoned that they got the better of Mr. Macdonald. How can you get the better of Mr. Macdonald in the 70s? All he would do, Mr. Macdonald was 7 foot tall, and you're probably like 4 foot 5. He would just pick you up and just let you go. Which is exactly what I would have done. And then I would have come up with my classic line again, I told you. Slipped on the slippery floor, he did. Then, of course, it would all come to a fore. It would all come to a fore until one day...
Slipped on the slippery floor, did we?
So I already told you about all the bad apples we had in our year. I remember once Mr. Macdonald standing up in assembly and telling everybody, well, not everybody, he used to point, if you can imagine assembly, he used to have about 4 or 5 classes. And he always used to look in a direction where you knew one class probably had most of the bad apples. And he said once, and I'm not paraphrasing, he actually said, some of you in this room do not deserve the fresh air that we breathe on this planet. And I remember him pointing in that direction and saying, you cause trouble and I'll make sure that you never get a good reference and you will never ever have a chance of a good job. I can tell you that I believe that Mr. Macdonald helped all those bullies, helped them, all of them, to get a decent job and gave them all a decent reference. Obviously, that was a threat, something that, could put the fear into you. We owe Mr. Macdonald a debt of gratitude, because I can tell you, after the 3rd year, I don't remember any kind of trouble, any kind of bullying, any kind of fights in Creighton School. I'm not saying that they didn't take place, but I felt a lot safer in Creighton School from the 4th year onwards. But having said that, I didn't really like his methods. I remember once in assembly again, he was trying to sell lottery tickets. They were in these books, 5 tickets a book, 20 pence each. And not much today, a tidy sum now, I would say £1 each, maybe £5 a book, in today's money. And I remember in assembly, he had them all there and he just said to everybody, I'm going to give every one of you one of these books. Now, come on, you should be able to sell one of these books. Oh, and by the way, if there's any trouble or if there's any fraudulent activity, we'll get the police in. I couldn't believe it. He was so drab about selling. Instead of saying, look, we've got these books, these lottery tickets. They're all for a good cause and everything. I would really like you to try and sell these tickets. We're trying to raise money for X, Y, and Z. No, it was like, you're going to have to do it. And I'll never forget it. He's in the assembly hall and he writes out the first person's name and said, right, I'm going to write the name. I'm going to make a list of the numbers that you're getting and then you can leave. Can you imagine? I mean, there must have been, in our year, there must have been at least 230 people sitting in that hall. And I sort of thought, this is going to take all day. I can't remember waiting too long. I must have been one of the first people to grab the tickets. But I can imagine it probably took, 230 people as Mr. Macdonald is writing their names and correlating it with all the numbers that they're getting. I just went home. I threw the tickets on the table and I said to my mum, buy these tickets for this idiot to shut him up. And so we bought the tickets. And then a friend of mine called Venturino Constantino, this really nice Italian guy. Well, when I say really nice, he was really nice in Creighton. When he was in my old school, I remember him coming. He was the biggest bully around. I used to get beaten up nearly every week by him. A really nasty piece of work when he was in the infant school. The greatest guy you could ever know in secondary school. And he comes up to me and says, Andreas, guess what? I said, what? I've just sold 20, 25, 30, 35 lottery books. And I'm sort of looking at him, I'm sort of thinking, what's the point of that? I don't know if he actually won anything out of it. I'm sure Mr. Macdonald would have given him a medal, maybe some kind of tin star, and a little pat on the head. Well done, Venturino, for selling all these tickets. But I would imagine because Venturino was a bully, the motivation that Mr. Macdonald gave him was actually good for him because he actually reacted to that kind of motivation. But with me, I just wanted to throw those lottery right up where the sun don't shine. So in the forum comments, it suggests that Mr. Macdonald was just a natural bully. A natural nasty piece of work. I can tell you that he only went for bullies. I will tell you this story. Now, we're in the second year now, and our class is waiting for Mr. Dane. We're actually standing in a row outside Mr. Dane's general science class. This was at the back end of the north wing. And there was a door, obviously, to a classroom at the back end of the north wing. We're a little bit rowdy. Waiting for Mr. Dane. And suddenly Mr. Macdonald comes out of the class and he says, I'm trying to teach in there. Can you please keep the sound down? I do not want to come out again. So Mr. Macdonald actually says his piece. Everyone's quiet. And instead, like a real idiot, instead of me waiting for Mr. Macdonald to get into the class and shut the door behind him, as he opens, just about to shut the door, I say to the culprit, who was making all the noise, this person, Roger Meggs in my class, I said to him, it's all your fault, Meggs. Mr. Macdonald turns around suddenly and he walks towards me. I mean, it must have been, in reality, that must have been only, say, something like 7 meters. It was like a lifetime as Mr. Macdonald walked towards me. I'm a second year. I'm 5 foot. He's 7 foot tall. And he comes over me and I'm looking into his eyes and it was like, they weren't red, they were blue. It was like looking into Dracula's eyes. It really was. I was actually looking at him like this. I was actually scared stiff. And I'm frightened. I'm almost soiling my pants. And he says to me, and if I have to come out again, there's going to be real trouble. And I thought, oh no. And I remember I'm a second year, and I thought, oh my God. And I'm sort of thinking, this is only the second year. We've got Mr. Macdonald for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, like I told you, and already I'm in trouble with Mr. Macdonald. A few days go by and we're in Mr. Dane's class again for general science, and Mr. Macdonald walks in and he says, and I can remember there was a lot of us, I'm on one side of the room and Roger Meggs is on the other side of the room, but it was a big class. Anyway, Mr. Macdonald says, and I hope that this class is behaving now. And he stares at Roger Meggs. And Roger Meggs says, what's going on? And Mr. Macdonald says to him, weren't you the boy I was talking to outside the other day? And he goes, no. And I'm on the other side of the room now and I'm thinking, yes, here's one for the little guy. You know, I've just pulled the wool over Mr. Macdonald. He's forgotten me completely. I'm off the hook. Anyway, a week or two goes by and in your registration class, what would happen is when the registration was finished, someone would have to go and take the registration book to the office. Anyway, it was someone's turn to do it. Everyone ran out of the room and Kelly Reese says to me, you're left with it, Andy, it's up to you. And I went, oh no. So I had the registration book in my hands and I walk out downstairs to the North Wing office. And I walk inside and guess who's sitting there? Mr. Macdonald. And he recognises me instantly and he gets up. He goes, hello, what's your name then? I said, my name's Andreas, sir. Oh, is it now? We both know what we're thinking. I'm thinking, oh no, he's recognised me. He thinks I'm one of the troublemakers. And, and he's sort of trying to be nice to me. Ah, yeah, so... and he was thinking, oh, don't worry, Andreas, I've got your number from now on. Anyway, from that point onwards, I think that Mr. Macdonald realised that I wasn't one of the bad apples. I wasn't one of the bad guys. And we had actually a perfectly decent relationship. He actually used to give me really good reports saying that he is a very nice, pleasant, polite young man. Not like these reports. Not like these reports that he. If you have a look here, the thing I like about Mr. Macdonald, he always says it as it is. He's bone idle, lazy, arrogant, conceited. The only thing I don't understand is I wanted to say to Mr. Macdonald, I said, this guy, Binnington, he actually passed the mock, and you suggest that you're actually going to keep him in the CSE. He's actually got 42%, you know, and you're sort of saying, well, you know, he should be doing CSE and he should be doing a project which he probably won't hand in. But I'm sort of thinking, Mr. Macdonald, you're a bit nasty there. He's actually passed the mock that tells you that you can do O-level. He's actually going to keep him in the CSE class. So, you know, I actually said that to me, Mr. Macdonald was a hero. But to some people, as you can see here, an absolute villain. So just to say a little bit about Mr. Macdonald's geography class, if you have a look at the photo that is in the Creighton report, that's actually our class. Our third year class. We had Mr. Macdonald for the third year in geography. I had to say it was an eye-opener in his class because he wanted absolute neatness. And when I say neatness, I mean neatness. You know, you used to draw graphs and everything. He would actually teach you techniques, how to colour it with coloured pencil and everything, and actually make. I mean, it took a long time. But by the end of the course, we were doing these beautiful pieces of work in our exercise books. I think that was really good. I remember him going around the class and looking at Mr. Michael Peppu's work. And he says to him, Michael Peppu, you're very intelligent and everything, but your handwriting is awful. It's really ugly. And he says, well, that's the way it is, sir. So Mr. Michael Peppu he used to get an earful all the time to say, keep it neater. He just couldn't keep anything neat, Mr. Michael Peppu. But I have to say something about his class. If you have a look at the photo, you can see this is how Mr. Macdonald would teach. He would teach in sort of this method. He would actually have paragraphs with words missing, and he would put them in afterwards. He would say rapids, causes, floods, causes flash tides and all this kind of stuff. Even in his exam, the exam was like that. All it was a whole load of paragraphs with words missing. Have you ever done it when you sort of think of the wrong word? You got the wrong word in the wrong place, and then everything just doesn't fall into place. It's like a puzzle, you know. It's like a puzzle that just everything doesn't fit. Obviously, I failed that exam. A lot of people passed it. A lot of people could be taught like that. Floods cause rapids, cause flash floods and all this kind of stuff. But I didn't really like that method of teaching. So Mr. Macdonald would talk about homework, and he would say, about the homework, you know, if you want to do it, you can do it. I mean, you know, if you don't feel like doing it, you don't have to do it. It's a free country. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. And I thought to myself, oh great, I don't have to do the homework. And then he suddenly says, but if you don't do it, you're in trouble. And I went, oh, for God's sake. You know, I should have known. I should have known better. And to finish off with Mr. Macdonald's geography class, I remember once we were in class and he had a map of the world, and he was talking about we're in for a new ice age, everybody. I don't want to alarm you, but the polar caps are getting very big now, and slowly they are coming towards Europe. It won't happen in 5 minutes, but I can tell you all that we are in for an ice age. I'm just happy in today's day and age that, you know, now we're worried about global warming. I think it's probably compensated for the ice age that was coming in. So, I mean, there's always something that someone's going to worry. Oh yes, there's going to be an ice age, and there's going to be this and that and that and this. But in this particular case, there isn't going to be an ice age, because we actually now are worried about global warming.
They're gone! Oh my gosh!
So in the last chapter, I suggested that if you're good at games, you will never ever get bullied. Geoffrey Edgar, who was the Troy Bolton of Creighton School, actually got in contact with me and said, actually, Andreas, I have been bullied. I used to get bullied by all the people that you mentioned in the last episode, and also people in other years. But I was just suggesting that mostly if you're good at games, or if you're an athlete, or people respect you, you never ever get bullied. So as I told you before, I was absolutely useless at sports. We used to have a teacher called Mr. Griffins, this Welsh guy. Really great teacher he was. You know, you can get some PE teachers who can really dig into the kind of kids that are not really good at sports. I used to always try. I always tried to be good, you know, but every dog has its day. I remember once, I don't know how we got split up here. I remember once there was only 6 of us. The other class went off to do obviously another activity. And we end up on the red grass, on the big track. And there's 6 of us, and this guy says to me, out of the 6 of us, you're going to come last. And I said, that's me, yeah? And I said to myself, I'm going to prove to you that I am not going to come last. So I remember the only person I knew out of that 6 was Andre Cove. He was a good runner, I wasn't going to beat him. Anyway, I think it was 5,000 meters, and I'm running, and I said, I am not going to come last, and I'm going to prove that person wrong. Guess what? Not only did I come last, I'm the one still running around the track, you know, 10 minutes later. And I'm puffed out. But Mr. Griffins, he's on the side and saying, keep going, Andreas, keep going. This is doing you good. This is doing you good. Always giving me encouragement. So I've got nothing bad to say about Mr. Griffins. It was a bit of hit and miss with me in PE and everything. You know, one day I would be absolutely brilliant, and the next day I would be absolutely useless. I think it was when I was brilliant one day, you sort of think, oh well, I'm good now, and that's when it all falls to pieces. I remember we were in the gym, and we're all playing 3 or 5 aside. I can't remember how it was. It was three aside, winner stays on. So football, 3 aside. And I'm sitting there waiting for my turn, and I'm sitting next to Gareth Alcock.
I say it's always best to start the day with a song. So let's begin our tour of inspection with Mr. Bean's class, shall we? It's through here. Who's that? Miss Alcock. Miss Alcock. Ding dong.
And I say to Gareth, I don't know how it came about, but I said, I'm really good now. And he said to me, do you know what my second name is, Andreas? And I said, yeah, Alcock. That's exactly right, Andreas. What you're talking about is Alcock.
My theory of music teaching is...
Alcock.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Bean.
I said, no, I'm really good now. I promise you, I'm really good. Gareth Alcock's parents used to be teachers.
2, 3, forward, 2, 3, and up. Feet apart, spring. Hands above head. Place. Fast forward, bend.
Alcock. Alcock. Alcock.
And if you believe that, you'll believe any old cock. Anyway, Gareth keeps on saying to me, you are rubbish, Andreas, you are rubbish. No, I'm good. I come on, I can't even touch the ball. I can't even touch the ball. And if the ball did come near me, it was sort of shoulder height. You know, you just couldn't touch the ball. I came off and Gareth looks at me as if to say, what were you saying, Andreas?
Alcock.
But it was a little bit hit and miss with me in sports. I have to tell you a little bit about cross-country running. We had 2 routes. If you started from the North Wing, for instance, you would go down Cobbetts Road and you would come into a sort of field area, run round a sort of football field, and then come through Coleful Woods, and then you would come back to the North Wing and you would finish. That was a really great route. That was so many places you could cheat. So many places you would come onto the football field, and I would always cut corners. Everyone would cut corners. Sometimes you wouldn't even run onto that football field at all. You would just turn left into Coleful Woods. There was another little shortcut. I remember there was this little alleyway, and it started wide, and then it would go really narrow. So we're running along, and there's a few people in front of us, and they decide to go there. I decided to go there as well, but I'm at the back. And suddenly, I can't remember if it was Mr. Griffins or Mr. Jackson, he went, you, right. And I just ran back, you know, and I just ran back the normal way, and I sort of thought, I was lucky not to get through that one, but that was actually a terrible route. The route in the South Wing was a lot better. You would start from the South Wing building, you would go round the playing fields, come out Twyford Avenue, go down Ringwood Road, run along Creighton Avenue, and then you would come up Tetherdown Road, and then you would go into the school where the swimming pool used to be, and the music rooms, if you remember, and then come back in the building to where you started. No cheating. There was no cheating on that route at all, because as you ran around the playing field, the teachers would watch you. Anyway, I decided to use a little bit of a tactic. I said, look, I'm always losing. Maybe I should try a different technique. So what I would do, I mean, we would run in so slow. You know, when you start the cross-country running, you start really slow. I said, well, I'm going to sprint ahead and try and gain a distance and see what happens. So I used to run 100 meters ahead of everybody. So I'm winning the race. Everyone's sort of laughing in the group. But it used to work. But slowly, as I used to go round, someone would go past me, and I thought, damn, someone's gone past me. So the kind of people who would go past me, the ones that were good at cross-country running, Kelly Reid, I think, would go past me. David Singleton, I couldn't believe that. You know, he not only is the cleverest kid in the school, he's actually a really good stamina runner. He used to pass me as well. Andre Cove, Jeffrey Edgar would pass me. But, you know, I even lost count as I was going. And as I was coming into Creighton, past the swimming pool, there was a whole load of Creightonians from a year maybe below me, and they're all clapping and they say, come on, you're 7th. And I couldn't believe it, 7th. Yeah, yes, you're 7th, keep going. And even Mr. Griffin says, I can't believe it. Well done, Andreas. I've come 7th. I couldn't believe it at all. Anyway, I sort of thought, well, maybe that was a bit of maybe a fluke. We had another cross-country run, same route. I did my same system, run ahead. And guess what? I come 7th again. And Mr. Griffin said, have a look, everybody. It's no fluke. Andreas has come 7th. Well done. Well done, Andreas. Well done. Congratulations. So, Mr. Bastin, I'm pretty sure Mr. Bastin, he used to take over our lessons sometimes. And we're doing the same cross-country run a few weeks later. And he says to us, don't bother running out ahead. You're only going to knacker yourself. And so I said, oh, I'm not allowed to do it. And guess what? Because I changed my system, because I changed my strategy, yes, I come almost last. Almost last. I said, never let anybody change your strategy. So I already told you this story before. Mr. Michaelides, because I'm Greek and he's Greek, he used to think I was Linford Christie. You know, he used to think I was Linford Christie. You know, he used to use his tape measure to measure, say, my discus throw. And I remember him looking at it, sort of looking at there. Well done, Andreas. You got the required standard for whatever it was. And I was, oh, that's nice. If it was my old teacher, my old school, it would have been out. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, this boy above me, it's the end of the school day, and he comes down, and Mr. Michaelides is going to take him to this tournament. A tournament to do his 5,000 meter running. And Mr. Michaelides says to me, Andreas, I'm taking this guy to do 5,000 meters. I'm taking you to throw the hammer. And I went, oh, that's nice. Anyway, Mr. Michaelides goes away, and I'm talking to the boy, and he says to me, have you ever thrown the hammer before? And I said, no. Is it easy? Well, you better watch it. You know, if you don't throw it properly, you're likely to break your back. And I went, oh my God. I tried to get out of it, and I can tell you it was the worst day imaginable. Raining cats and dogs. We didn't have any umbrellas or anything like that. It was raining cats and dogs, and I tried to disappear through the rain, and Mr. Michaelides turned around and said, hey, where are you going? It's this way. And we went on this bus, and I'll never forget it. I'm dripping wet. There was nothing to stop all the water. We were absolutely drenched. And I turned to Mr. Michaelides and I said, you do realise that this tournament, they won't be using your tape measure, don't you? And he went, yeah, no. Do you know what I'm saying? So can you imagine that? I'm going to a tournament, never thrown the hammer before. It's like any one of you, just imagine someone takes you to the Olympic Games. You know you're going to be up against the best of everybody else, every other country, in this case, every other school, and you're asked to throw something that you've never thrown in your entire life. So going back to Mr. Griffin's in the second year of PE in Creighton School, it's the end of the day and we're all coming out of whatever we were doing, and Mr. Griffins is holding his notepad and he's writing, and he says, Andreas, guess what? What's that, sir? You're playing for Creighton School this Saturday. Make sure you come in. Make sure you come to the school 9:30 in the morning. There's going to be a minibus waiting for you, and you're going to play Woodside Park School. And I went, oh, that's great. Anyway, I've never played ever for Creighton School, never been picked for any team, always wanted to be picked for a team. Anyway, so 9:30 comes along, I go to Creighton School, the minibus is waiting. We all get into the minibus and we drive towards the location. I remember it was Jeffrey Edgar, I remember was there. It was Michael Francis, Mark Barham, and I remember Mark Jones, who used to go to my old school. He's at the back of the minibus with me, and he's saying to me, Andreas, you do understand the rules of this game, don't you? Now, Mr. Griffins is Welsh, but I can swear to you that I know we did play rugby, but we didn't play rugby a lot. So Mark Jones is kindly telling me all the rules. He's saying to me, you can't throw it forward, Andreas, but you can kick it forward. And he's explaining all the rules. Really, really nice of him to explain all the rules. We get to our destination. It's a big park. And in the middle of this park is the changing room. We go into the changing rooms, we get changed. And if I remember, I think it was Mr. Bastin. Mr. Bastin was our minibus driver. It must have been him. I can't think of it being anybody else. Anyway, he comes in, Mr. Bastin, and he says, I'm afraid there's a bit of a problem, lads. He goes, what is it? We got too many people on our team and not enough people on their team. So what had happened, Mr. Griffiths was just getting names of anybody who could turn up. So some of the people that would have turned up anyway didn't go to that day at Creighton. So Creighton ended up with too many people. So Mr. Bastin said, you and you play for the other team. And Jeffrey Egger comes out and says, no, let them two play. You want us to win, don't you? And Mr. Bastin said, yes. Send them two. Don't send the other two. Send them two. It's me and George Dimitriou. And the humiliation of it. The humiliation I've missed. I mean, we used to have, I used to be a Saturday morning picture boy. The Saturday morning picture era disappeared, and what happened was you used to have a lot of films and stuff on television. And there was this series called Tarzan.
Here, in the forbidden tangle of the jungle, a child was found and raised by the great apes. The boy took the name Tarzan and later was educated in civilization. But then Tarzan...
Tarzan, the TV series with Ron Ellie as Tarzan. And it was a double feature, if you know what I'm saying. It was a part 1 and a part 2. And the excitement bit was that these poachers, or whatever they were throwing grenades. Ron Ellie's Tarzan jumps into the water and they're throwing grenades at him, and Ron Ellie's sort of bang, bang. And I remember they played the series twice. I never saw it the first time, but this time I was going to see it, but I didn't because I had to go rugby. So not only did I feel the humiliation, I actually missed that episode, that final episode of Ron Ellie's episode of Tarzan. And then me and George Dimitriou, we walk into the changing room of the other team, really feeling really embarrassed, and it's all the guys. They've already changed. They're all sitting down. And I hear a familiar voice saying, oh no, not Andreas Charalambous. Anybody but Andreas Charalambous. And it turns out that the whole team, or most of them, are from my old school. So Thomas Gameson, well, he was teasing me as if to say, anybody but Andreas Charalambous. If I was Thomas Gameson, I would keep quiet, because every dog does have its day. We used to go to Matterson Road swimming baths in the top year of our infant school. And I remember we used to have to do, for one exercise, the last certificate of the year, we had to swim 5 lengths of the pool with a different stroke. I finished in 5 minutes, and I'll never forget, Thomas Gameson, every time he was on the steps at the end, and the teacher was going, come on, Gameson, come on. That teacher was Tony Cox. I remember him introducing himself. My name is Tony Cox. And I said, Tony Cox, sir? Yes, Tony Cox. And I looked at him and I said, I'll take your word for it. But anyway, Thomas Gameson was huffing and puffing. He wasn't the great sportsman. He's probably good at rugby because he's probably the captain of the team. Sean Day is there, another old friend of mine, and basically it was like playing for our old school. We get out onto the field. I'm now playing against Creighton, and I'll never forget it. The playing field, it had been really raining the night before, and you used to have these big puddles all over the field, literally 10 or 12 metres wide. Mr. Bastin was saying, these conditions are ideal conditions for rugby. The only thing that's bad about this is you've got this bog smell. It was a really terrible sewage smell. So what happened is that all the water had overflowed all the sewage system. All those puddles, I can tell you, was raw sewage. I remember playing the game, and you could see the only two people that I seem to remember that were really dedicated was Jeffrey Edgar of Creighton School and Sean Day of the other school. They would run into these puddles, splash, 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 splash. No one would follow them. I remember Sean Day was actually splashed in, and he actually came in. Can you imagine? He was actually virtually ducked into all that sewage. I mean, really, really terrible, terrible October conditions to actually play rugby. So as I said, they would run in. I tried to stop Jeffrey Edgar. Jeffrey Edgar was as slippery as an eel.
After a water slide.
So at half time, I'm standing next to the team, obviously the opposing team, because I'm playing with them, and they're having their team talk, and their teacher says, "Watch out for that tall geezer with dark hair." And George Georgiou, who's from Creighton, who's also playing for their team, somebody says, "That's Jeffrey Edgar." And if I was back there, I would have said to him, "Careless talk, George, careless talk." And I remember Jeffrey Edgar saying to me, I walked over to our team, "What are they saying, Andreas? What are they saying?" I said, "They're certainly worried about you."
It has stopped in the length that is the in-goal area, and Western may have scored.
So we played the second half, and I can't believe it. I end up on the winning side. Creighton School couldn't even beat 9 people with 2 Creighton School members who really weren't trying hard enough anyway. Creighton School couldn't even beat them. That was the biggest shame. And I end up a hero and I walk off victorious with my friend, jumping about and everything. And 3 cheers for Creighton. Hoo! I was going, hoo! Hoo! You know what I'm saying? That's how much I thought of Creighton. But I can actually say that I have a 100% record. I've never gone for an away match and lost. Maybe I haven't won for Creighton, but I can actually say that I keep that record. But the saddest thing about it is I had to miss Ron Ellie's Tarzan. Had to go through that humiliation, missed that episode, and before anyone says, well, you can find it online now, you cannot find it online. This is an extremely rare episode. It was actually difficult enough to actually find this preview.
What are you doing in this jungle? Where else would a man like me be? To me, this is the last great battlefield where I can begin to wage war without the rules.
And I remember that poor Ron Ellie, he's under the water, they're throwing grenades at him. People have said to me since, don't worry, he survived. He survived, and don't worry. I said, well, how do we know that? It was the last episode, and I'm certainly not going to buy the DVD version. If you have a look at the DVD version on Amazon, £38, this is just for one season, yeah? £38, 5p. Not forgetting the 5p that you have to pay. So all my life I will never know what happened to Ron Ellie's Tarzan.
Waiting for orders, Colonel. Find him. Kill him.
But at least I got my oar in and actually ended up on the winning side. So it's the end of the game. I'm really happy. Everyone else is down in the dumps. And we go to the point where the minibus should be waiting for us. And we look around, there's no sign of the minibus. Apparently it must be procedure that if Creighton School loses, you're on your own. You've got to make your own way home. I was really annoyed. As far as I was concerned, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Jeffrey Edgar says to me, "Oh, don't worry, Andres, we can walk from here." Walk from here? I had no idea, absolutely no idea where I was. We were actually in the middle between Wood Green and Tottenham. There's a road called Lordship Lane there. So the playing fields were in the middle of that. So me and Jeffrey have to walk home. I'm really happy. Jeffrey Edgar, he's down in the dumps. Anyway, he takes me this route. We go through Ali Pali somehow, and we end up obviously on the way home. So I'm actually talking to Jeffrey Edgar for at least a good hour. I wanted to actually say to him, you know, why did you embarrass me by putting me on the other team? But I decided to keep that out, and he eventually says to me, Andy, Arsenal and Tottenham are playing today. Now, he's a big Arsenal fan. And he says to me, I will bet you my cassette recorder. There used to be these cassette recorders, and I used to have a reel-to-reel tape recorder. I will bet you my cassette recorder to your reel-to-reel tape recorder that Arsenal will beat Tottenham. And I said to him, no, Jeff, I don't make that bet. First of all, I wouldn't bet my reel-to-reel tape recorder with his crappy, you know, cassette playing machine. But I decided to actually look. I looked online. This was October 1973. Tottenham actually beat Arsenal that season, home and away. So I actually would have won Jeffrey Edgar's crappy cassette machine.
And a minute ago, the take-up reel wasn't turning. Looks like it's not again. Okay, let's check it. Ah, look, it ate the tape! Oh, no! Help! It's eaten my tape!
So that's it. That's the conclusion. That's the conclusion of this particular episode. The Creighton Report Extended. Hero or villain, Mr. Macdonald. To me, I thought he was a hero. For me personally. He put all those bad apples in check. I mean, we had a terrible time in the first, second and third year. That time probably disappeared, fourth or fifth year, as these bad apples disappeared. I'm sure that he, you know, just like Clint Eastwood as a gunslinger, he got rid of all these bullies, you know, slowly. Of course, then you could say that maybe in the fourth year and the fifth year that, you know, you can actually grow out of bullying. So, you know, I'm actually saying that Mr. Macdonald actually got rid of these bullies. Maybe that wasn't the case. But all I can say is from the fourth and fifth year, it was all under control. So for me personally, Mr. Macdonald is a hero. But I think Mr. Macdonald is a little bit like Scottish haggis. Either you think he's ambrosia, or maybe in reality he's just a lot of offal. I hope you all enjoyed this particular episode, and I will leave it out with another exploit of mine, playing for Creighton School, or maybe not.
Let's go!
And here we are in the final of the Haringey Basketball Championships. It's Creighton School in the final, along with Woodside Park. It's neck and neck in this exciting championship game. Jeffrey Edgar gets the ball again. A nice little shimmy, a nice little dummy. Oh, and it's shot. Oh, and Jeffrey Edgar tries to get it. Oh, he's been knocked out of play. Oh, it's not looking good for Creighton at the moment. Jeff shoots, he scores. Oh, nice interception there for Michael Francis, and he shoots. Oh, he scores. Excellent from Creighton School. They're back in this tournament. Yay. And Jeffrey Edgar, he's dangerous. Oh, and Woodside Park have taken Jeffrey Edgar out of the game. Are you okay? Jeff shoots, he scores. Oh, great tackling there. The game's too tight. We need our ace up the sleeve.
What do you want to do, Jeff?
Bring on Charalambous.
Charalambous? Jeff, you're only a few points
away. I know what I'm doing.
Okay. Charalambous. Andreas, Charalambous, you're on. This is your opportunity, Andreas. Come on, get on.
Yeah. Okay, calm down. Don't get overexcited. It's not what you think. I can't believe this, folks. Jeffrey Edgar, the captain of Creighton, has put Andreas Charalambous on the opposition team.
Come on.
I put Andreas on the opposition team. That should hinder them enough to give Creighton a fighting chance. Oh, it's been intercepted by the Blues. The Blues have got the ball. Andreas Charalambous is up front. Andreas got the ball. He's got a chance to finish Creighton School off. No! shoots, he scores! Woodside Park wins the Harringay Sim Championship. I can't believe there's this pandemonium here. We're trying to get through now. All the cameras have stopped and everything. Oh, we're live here. We're trying to get an interview with the winner. The person who scored the winning basket for Woodside Park. Andreas, what's it like winning the Harringay Championship? Feels really great. Makes up for that Tarzan episode that I missed, doesn't it? We can't seem to find any losing Creightonians for comment. What do you think they're doing in the changing room, Andreas? Well, I don't know about that, but I hope Mr. Bastin hasn't gone. Otherwise, they're all going to have to look for a lift home.